Hello and welcome to my Moon in Scorpio video. I think I'm going to be paring these videos down a little bit because just when I get to about the 15-minute mark I start wanting to get into like these deeper interpretations and start pulling the moon sign in with examples of how they might incorporate themselves into certain sun signs or a sun sign of a particular element or things like that, and uh, it's and then I have to cut myself short. And anyways, I think this I think these videos are going to be shorter. I'm still figuring out how I'm doing these, and this is all new to me, just talking. Usually I'm doing things in front of the camera and then it doesn't matter. So we're working with natal moon in Scorpio. There is a sense of the need for something to die emotionally in the moon in Scorpio, because in this sign the moon is in its fall, which means something about that sign has to sort of phoenix in a way, because you're not just dying, but an emotional death has to be experienced in this regard, because the moon is about emotions, triggers, unconscious reactions, and how you express emotions, how you receive emotions, and then how you feel secure from the inside. So light-hearted relationships usually don't sit too well with moon in Scorpio, because they really crave that depth of emotional bond in some way. Not every relationship has to be super intense and be really deep and be constantly testing the emotional boundaries of everybody all the time. It's not quite that crazy. But when it comes to finding someone that they can relate to and someone that they feel pretty safe with, they like to really hold on to those people, because there's an indication that an adult with the moon in Scorpio, at some point in the childhood, they say that the qualities of the moon, I can't talk. It's been a really long day and I'm tired, but I really wanted to do this, so please excuse my brain. At some point during the childhood, during the ages of like birth to 7, is when they say the moon develops, the qualities of the moon develop, right? That's where we develop at that point, we've watched a lot of how people interact with each other, how they handle each other's emotions, how they handle us as a children, and our emotional outbursts and our reactions to things. So there's an indication that with the moon in Scorpio that there may have been an experience. Now remember, this is very interesting, because as children, and humans in general, but as children we tend to really see experiences differently than the rest of our siblings. Some things may have happened to some siblings, it didn't happen to others, or due to whatever the personality makeup or the pecking order, some siblings might see a situation as really crucial to their development and something that was hugely influential, while other siblings were like, oh yeah, I didn't really care about that, right? So this is important to think about. So the moon in Scorpio child at some point may have felt abandoned or betrayed, because they felt at the mercy of certain traditions or attitudes. They were treated with a way that didn't take their feelings into consideration, leaving them feeling powerless. Okay, their desires were not taken into consideration. This could be in the form of maybe losing a very close sibling or parent, which can feel very much like abandonment. It is, in a way. Or betrayal from somebody, again, taking away their power. There's so many ways to do it. There's the really extreme ways that can be super abusive emotionally, physically. And then there are, of course, other subtle ways that sometimes parents don't realize they're doing when, they make an offhand comment about how, boys can't cook, they shouldn't cry, girls can't do that, or whatever. They're making offhanded comments that they think are harmless, but depending on the child, they can really take it to heart, right? So we have to be careful what we say that makes children feel helpless and like they have no say over, they have no sovereignty over their body and their emotions. Okay. So if you are a Moon in Scorpio person, and as soon as I said that, you were able to pinpoint an event or events where you really just felt so out of control, so you were left behind in some way, or somebody betrayed your trust, then it's important to really see how this has shaped your triggers and your emotional reactions. There's this thing about Moon in Scorpio where they have great senses of how other people feel around them, and they're able to tap into somebody else's emotional state without ever having to say that they know how that person feels. There's a way of tapping in. It's totally instinctual, very intuitive, maybe even it can feel psychic in some way. And if the Moon in Scorpio is pretty evolved and has developed compassion, both in their moon attributes as well as the other planets and bodies, they can be the best person to go to if you're looking for any emotional support, because not only would you rarely have to articulate what was bothering you, but they're able to really feel with you in a deep way, but not feel with you so much that they lose their own boundaries. But maybe earlier on, or in an unevolved or less mature Moon in Scorpio, there could be that tendency to want to strike at a relationship, at a person that they've become close with, to end it, or to do some sort of betrayal because they feel like they're about to be dumped or betrayed, or there's that inability to block out your intuition because you're so mired in your own fear of being abandoned or of being let down in some way. And this is true with anyone. If we feel anything strongly enough, we can attract it to us, right? But a Moon in Scorpio, the feeling nature is so deep and so powerful and can be very obsessive. So if you're obsessed with the idea that somebody is going to leave you or cheat on you or fire you or whatever it is, the Moon in Scorpio, more than most people, can really attract those fears. And so you can abandon your fears and take things as they come, and remember that every situation is different, and there's no situation that will ever mirror another situation you've experienced, no matter how painful it was. You can abandon your fears, or conversely, you can be abandoned because of them. So the trick with Moon in Scorpio is to let that fear, that emotional fear, die. Let it go away, moving on from whatever may have pricked that emotional trigger with you in the past, and the ability to see every new relationship and everything that invokes emotional response in you with clear eyes. So if you look at Moon being security and Scorpio being desiring, there's a strong, strong desirous nature. Emotionally, there's a magnetism to Moon in Scorpio, and they might be the type of person, even if there's no real social factors in the rest of their chart, people just come up to them and talk to them out of nowhere. And they can attract a large number of people because there's just something about them. They're very good at attracting people who need mirrors, and they're also good at attracting mirrors, meaning anything that one needs to work out emotionally, where there's a blockage or they haven't worked through something and they keep hitting the same wall over and over again. For example, somebody who continues to get in the same relationship over and over again, and they keep cursing the other person, like, how do you keep attracting the same person all the time, or this, a similar person every time? And then they meet the Moon in Scorpio person, and that Moon in Scorpio person can be somebody that pushes them past that, whatever it is, that pattern. This person's a little different, and they can sense it in that Moon in Scorpio person. There's the ability to help transcend people from their old habits. The problem is that if they're not ready for that intensity, both parties, if they're not ready for that intensity, it can just spiral out of control real quickly. Conversely, when the Moon in Scorpio keeps seeing those patterns, because it is a fixed sign, so it's easy for the Moon in fixed signs to get caught in emotional patterns, especially if there's like squares to Saturn, probably more so than any other moon signs. Conversely, when the Moon in Scorpio keeps finding these patterns, the patterns keep exploding more and more in a more and more volatile fashion, until they're able to look at it and say, hey, why do I keep attracting this almost identical situation, or this level of dishonesty in the partner, or this level of whatever it is. Whenever there's a pattern going on, the first thing you do is you look to yourself, right? Because like does attract like. And the Moon in Scorpio individual generally sees themselves as some kind of a survivor, as having maybe triumphed from something that happened in their childhood, whether that was from something as very individual as just being made fun of for some reason or another, or again from what we talked about, the outside abusers coming in, or being left behind in some way. And that's great, because that gives the Moon in Scorpio subject great emotional stamina. But what it also can do is give them the idea that they don't need the emotional connection. They would rather just stand by sometimes and not get involved. And that is in and of itself a death to somebody with such a deep and far-reaching emotional state. It's easy to not get into the relationships over time, but there is almost sort of a deterioration of the spirit when you have anybody with this, anybody and all. But some people can surely handle hermitude better than others. And Moon in Scorpio, they can certainly handle being alone, but if it's being used as avoidance or a crutch, that will hurt them more than most people. I'm going to close up here because I want to start getting into other stuff, but it would just take too long to really do correctly. So one more thing about Moon in Scorpio is there is, just like any other of the less evolved portions of the Scorpio personality, there can be a tendency towards vengeance, towards holding a grudge. And because the Moon is involved, if you mess with anyone that is either somebody that they feel like they're taking care of, like a child, or somebody that they feel like that needs to be under their wing, you really don't want to mess with them, because if a Scorpio ever makes a mistake, particularly Moon in Scorpio, if a Moon in Scorpio ever makes a mistake in their past that resulted in great emotional pain, they will do everything in their power to never make it again. So should you ever get in a situation where their action or inaction, whatever it is, created some deep torrent of emotion that they may never have even healed from, you will not get away with it, whatever it is. And again, that emotional stamina is big. You do enough to a moon in Scorpio, and you may never hear from them again. And they're very patient. So if vengeance is something that they're keen on, they will do it, and it could be years down the line and very sneaky. You might not even ever know that it's them, right? So I'm going to close there. I didn't find celebrities with moon in Scorpio, but I can do that. I know some of you don't give a shit, and you could just stop the video right now. So if you know anybody with the moon in Scorpio, this can be really good information. They can be very secretive too, so you generally don't just want to, be like, hey, what was your childhood like? They probably, most won't appreciate that, particularly when they're in the lesser evolved stages. Secretiveness is a great way of keeping yourself seeming mysterious, which they like. All right, so Moon and Scorpio celebrities. Beyonce. I don't even care about her. Lady Gaga. Not really caring about her either. Nothing against her. Just don't care. Interesting. We've got Jennifer Lopez. Alan Rickman. Oh, he was a Pisces, with Moon and Scorpio. Just like my mom. Alan Rickman. Bruce Lee. Sagittarius with Moon and Scorpio. Very groovy. And Elizabeth Taylor, also a Pisces with Moon and Scorpio. Very cool. All right, that's just a few. There's clearly a lot more, but that's where we're at today. So I hope you enjoyed the shorter version. If you have any questions about where your moon is and you don't know exactly how to plug in birth info, just leave your birth time and date and place in comments, and I'll do what I can when I can get around to it. The next moon sign is Moon in Sagittarius. That's my moon sign. Hopefully I don't blab on about it too much because it's just awesome. Yeah, okay. So hopefully in a few days we'll have that video up. Yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. See ya.